Regional Championships brought to you by Clash Tournaments. I'm Raymond Cipolletti, and this is Chris Leandro, and we are here with round 7? 6.
No.
It's been a long day.
Round
it's round
7.
6.
Round 7. We got
round
2
7.
more.
Okay. Oh, my God.
Yep. We got round 7 and then round 8, and then we'll be done for the night, cutting
God.
to top 8 in the morning. We'll be cutting over to the game here briefly. We have 2 lesser-known players here. They're kind of a little bit on the bubble right now, meaning if they win this match, they have a really good chance of moving on to cut, and if they lose, they're effectively out of the tournament.
Yeah, so this is a very important game for both of these players. Yep. This basically could also determine whether or not they get an invitation to the World Championships.
Yeah, both of these players are...
I think the names are a bit swapped up. Chris Wilkinson is on the right, and Brian H. is on the left.
Yep, the names are swapped. They'll be fixed here in a second. So we have a pretty matchup for the days here. We've got Night March versus...
Evital. And this is honestly a classic matchup that's existed for probably at least a year now, maybe. Or longer. Like, this is a classic matchup.
Yep. They're trying to rearrange some stuff here, so.
All right.
Anyways, they'll figure that out. So, these are both decks that have been around for quite a while now. And they've both been pretty powerful decks right off the bat. They've kind of gone back and forth on the matchup was very Night March favored at one point, and then Evital kind of had the regular Evital that you see on the screen now with Oblivion Wing that was able to efficiently deal with all of the attackers. And now we have things like Fighting Fury Belt that makes these attackers a little more resilient to these Pokemon. So
yes, but
we still see it's Brian that's playing Night March and Chris on Evital. Obviously. So
how do you think the new Evital, the Fright Knight Evital, affects the matchup? It seems like it makes the matchup. That card really impacts the matchup. Like, it makes it for Evital. It makes it a lot easier.
It definitely helps. It allows... Night March tends to be very aggressive and drops Shamans on the board that Fright Knight Evital can really do some work against, which you see Brian is playing Mr. Mime probably directly to deal with that. Oh, wow, and he's playing Life Dew as well. This is a little bit of an interesting list.
Yeah, this is definitely exciting to see. Yeah. This is not your average Night March list.
This is,
This is creative.
Definitely a few differences we're seeing here.
Yep, and, that's a turn 1 Getsus.
Let's see.
And let's see what it hits.
Actually not.
Wait, okay, so this is actually really ironic because he might have made, like, the Maxis potentially easier if the Shaman draws an Ultra Ball.
I actually think he just gets us away 2 Ultra Balls, so I think... I think just having that there. All right, so Brian is having an incredible turn right now. He had the compressor and then a double time puzzle to get some resources he used to use them again. So he's really he's having an amazing start now.
Yeah, Brian is off to the races, as they say, and he's just going to be finding his Night Marchers, getting him in the discard, and it looks like he picks up an N to put in the discard, so he might just have a Versus Seeker in his hand that he wants to use in order just to...
And sometimes you just play these as like one-off cards that he knows could be useful later, so he knows he plays 1 N and probably 4 VS Seeker, so it makes more sense to give yourself more outs there.
Yeah, of course, and we see Brian is going to grab the Floatstone off the Trainer's Mail and most likely attach it to either Mr. Mime or Shaman EX, or just, pass. It's not really a big deal. Chris likely doesn't play any Disruption, and if he does, it's only really Getsus.
It's very important to have a free retreater in Night March. It just allows, when one of your Night Marchers get knocked out, to have an easier transition into your next attacker instead of putting yourself in a weird spot.
So Chris is able to Shaman, and he finds a computer search, and let's see if he can get the turn 1 Maxis. If he can, I mean, I don't know how impactful it would even be. He would just get like Gallade or something.
Glade is pretty good against Night March. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
It is a non-EX attacker that can clean up a Shaman. And so Night March, the name of the game is prize trading.
Right.
And you just need to be able to aggro out. Having N back in this format makes you be able to try to disrupt your opponent a little bit later on, but really whoever can consistently keep up with that prize trade is the most important thing. And Gallade lets you almost guarantee like a 2-for-1. So
yeah.
And actually, based off of what we've seen a lot today, I actually really like this Life Dew and Night March.
Yeah, I mean, like I actually mentioned that earlier where like the Puzzle of Time came up when Edwin was playing the deck, and I was like, what if that ace spec was actually just a Life Dew? There's like a chance he could deny 3 prizes with like the. I mean, that seems unlikely that you get double Puzzle of Time on the Life Dew, but that's like a crazy possibility and like a scenario just to think about.
Sure, yeah. And I mean, that's when you have a deck that's as aggressive as Night March is, also denying your opponent prizes, that's just so hard to deal with.
Yeah, so the denying prizes could also mean that you can be more careful with like how many Night Marches you discard. Like you might just not end up getting one-shots just because of the fact that you want more Night Marchers.
Yep.
Because the Life Dew doesn't save the Night Marchers, does it? I think it just denies the prize.
Yeah, correct. They still go in the discard.
So you kind of are denying all these prizes if you end up doing that, but you're running out of Night Marchers when you do it. So he might just play more Muse or just be more careful about how many Night Marchers he discards.
So I was talking with Chris earlier, I think he's playing more of a list that is focused on... he doesn't use any like laser bank combo, which used to be very common with the Yveltal, but so he could have options with Silent Lab, and then still being able to use that Fright Knight Yveltal to take knockouts on Night Marchers and ignore Life Dew or any other tools that could come up. So I actually think that's probably a big reason that Life Dew isn't very popular, is because of that Fright Knight Yveltal.
Yeah, that is a huge deterrent to Life Dew. Just shutting it off is... Like, shutting off your A-Spec is huge. So, that is definitely going to come into effect this game at some point. But right now, it looks like they're both just trying to set up. Brian's still trying to get all the Night Marchers into this card. And I'm sure he'll probably just be able to one-shot this Yveltal that Chris has active right now.
I think that is very likely.
He only needs 7.
Yep.
It looks like he has that. And we see a Night March, and the first prize gets taken.
So you don't see as many of those regular Yveltal EX with Oblivion Wing as you used to. Playing high counts of those is pretty impactful, especially if... I haven't seen a Fighting Fury belt from Byran yet, so he may not play them or not play a high count of them. So that Fright Knight Yveltal is pretty powerful. So
yeah, and we see Chris use Dark Patch on the Darkrai, and Darkrai would normally be very effective here, but that Mr. Mime is gonna kind of ruin Chris's day.
But like I was saying before, Chris most likely plays Silent Labs,
right?
So he'll be able to
prevent
potentially
the barrier from happening.
Yeah, potentially get a double knockout on Night Marchers with Darkrai, which is a pretty big deal.
Yeah, that's huge. He just has to find it, and if he doesn't find it, but he finds the Dark Patches and like the means to be able to attack with Darkrai, that's going to be really awkward. Just doing the 90 to the Pumpkaboo and then just not being able to knock out the
and
Joltik.
There's that Silent Lab there. He
looks like he hesitated, so he might not have the Dark Patch.
Yeah, and that was actually kind of okay, he did end up playing it. I was going to say that's kind of unfortunate because I'm pretty sure Brian saw that Silent Lab, and that's important information.
Yeah, and do you actually think that like was correct to even play the Silent Lab in that position where you're not actually taking the double knockout, or would you hold it for the turn that you actually take the double knockout just to try to guarantee it, or just hold it till next turn so you play it and then you play your supporter and you have a higher chance of finding the knockout.
So, I mean, I think it was irrelevant that it was the Silent Lab, but just the fact to counter Stadium here, to force him to have another Dimensional Valley or attach another double colorless energy to Pumpkaboo. So, yeah, it looks like Brian is just going very aggressively here, just trying to take prizes. So
he's coming and swinging in game one, just aggressively night marching and taking a lot of prizes. And Chris
can definitely play an N and sort of swing this game around. This is definitely a card that in standard format, with the new set, we actually get N back in standard format, but it was rotated out of standard format for some time, so Night March didn't get punished by playing these extremely aggressive opening hands. But now that's not the case, so it's very possible that Brian could get a little bit punished for this, whiff a double colorless energy, and let Darkrai just sweep, or he can just draw a really good hand.
That's insane. That's a whatever supporter he wants, a double colorless energy to attack, and a Shaman to just...
That is unfortunate, and then we see Chris just fail a Trainer's Mail.
Yeah, this is not going Chris's way at all.
So he's still digging here. I think he is...
He might just get a Shaman and try to find a Silent Lab to be able to take that double knockout.
I don't know if that's what he's going for, if he plays like Tool Scrapper maybe. Because that does not feel good to...
And we see a Fright Knight Evital, but, I mean, that doesn't really do anything right now. Especially if he's going to take the knockout on the Pumpkaboo right now. Like, that's super awkward because he doesn't take any prizes. And we see Brian draw another DCE, so he's kind of set.
Fortunately, so there's 12 Night Marchers, 2 in play, so 10. So 220, I think, is what... am I doing my math correctly?
Yeah, for sure.
220 is what Joltik can hit here. If he has all of his other Night Marchers in the discard pile, plus the Muscle Band. Will be a knockout on the Darkrai with the Fighting Fury belt.
Yeah, and it looks like right now he's just going to Battle Compressor to thin out his deck. I mean, there's really no reason not to Battle Compressor right now because all those cards that he's getting rid of right now are likely just useless, and he doesn't want to draw them off of an N that Chris will probably end up having to play later on.
So, and he's also just trying to Shaman here to get some more cards.
Yep, and he does. I mean, he doesn't really find anything that he needs, per se.
See, 1, 2, 3.
Birches. Interesting.
That's a Teammates.
Oh, that's a Teammates. It looks like a Birches for some reason, but hard to tell. Double Puzzle of Time, and I think we might just see the Life Dew plus something else come back here. And that is kind of just the Wombo combo coming into play.
That's very powerful. Oh, so he's just going to... Oh, wow. So he's just going to get the Tool Scrapper there on that Fighting Fury belt.
Yeah.
Get the knockout, plus get that Life Dew back on a Joltik. So...
Yeah, so we've seen Brian go through his deck multiple times. Do you think there's a chance that he just doesn't really play the Muse, and instead of playing the Muse that like a lot of people are playing, he's playing more of these tech cards like Mr. Mime?
I think that's probably most likely. So, I mean, I think we saw in the standard format how Night March works fine without Mew or Mew EX. So we can tell just by the power of it here.
Yeah.
So we have an N to 1 here. So, again, we're in that situation where Chris needs to hit a Floatstone, a DCE, and hope that Brian does not get...
I mean, at this point in the game, you know Night March has discarded all of their useless cards for the most part.
Well, that was a very good top deck. I think it was a Target Whistle, maybe?
Yeah, and when you end them to 1, like, deep down you know that they're probably actually just going to top deck out of it this late in the game, and it's kind of a fruitless effort.
It looks like Chris may not have an out to this.
I would not be surprised if this game was just over. Brian's start was so aggressive, and Chris's start was actually not horrible, but the text Brian plays in his deck made it really hard for Chris to do much of anything. With the way that his hand forced him to play the game, and aka going Darkrai instead of other attackers.
Yep, and he scoops. As he realizes that he can't even get the knockout on this Joltik here, and it's just going to knock out anything. So.
Yeah, and that's going to be game 1 going to Brian, but Chris is going to be able to start game 2, so hopefully that helps. Or does he even want to start game 2?
Yes, you.
Okay.
Yeah. You.
All right.
I think one of the very few matchups that you actually choose to go second is maybe Night March Mirror Match.
Okay. All right.
So
I can see that.
But I think for the most part, you need to give yourself the first turn to do some stuff.
Mm-hmm. For sure. And we see here, Brian is rocking the old school Japanese Pokemon card back sleeve. So if you ever had Japanese Pokemon cards way back in the day, like during, say, base set, that is what the back of the cards would look like. They're different than the English ones, so it's pretty interesting. And the material is also very different from, like, what our cards are printed on.
Yep.
It's just pretty cool to see him just rocking the old school stuff. And Chris, he's got his pink sleeves, he's got his Tierno mat. He's ready to go. He's ready to take game 2 by storm or just get rolled by Night March.
Tierno is he's a trooper, man.
I don't think he's playing Tierno, though.
I hope not. We'll just leave it at that.
Oh, man. What's the point of even having the mat?
Poor Tierno.
No love.
No love.
All right, it looks like Chris is...
he just dumped everything on his bench there at the beginning.
That's a computer search, so this is pretty strong. Oh, wow.
Ooh.
And a Getsus. Getsus is really impactful against Night March. Oh. Ooh.
That was a... See, something kind of interesting here is that Chris now knows that Brian's only supporter is his own Getsus, so Chris is going to do everything he can to just dump all the trainers out of his hand.
Yeah, if he leaves himself with 0 trainers and Brian gets his,
he gets
drops
nothing.
0 cards.
So
that was huge. So this is what I've been waiting for, like, all day. Just somebody getting turn 1 Getsus and just ending the game. We saw that happen the other weekend on stream where Ross gets this, like, his opponent's whole hand, and the game was just over.
Yep.
And I've just been waiting to see that happen again. And it looks like that's pretty much what's happening here if Chris is able to dump his whole hand of
Which
trainers.
It looks like he is.
Yeah, he has Ultra Ball, he has Computer Search, he has cards he can play. I think he's in a very, very good position.
Yeah, I think Chris is looking good to start this game.
I mean, the game's actually just over if Brian top deck's dead.
Yeah.
Because the Yveltal would just knock him out in 1 hit.
Yep.
It is weak to Dark, so it'll do 80 damage, the Oblivion Wing, for 1 Darkness Energy.
Interesting, he opts to attach there. I don't particularly like that because he's got that Dark Patch in his hand. He could have discarded that Dark and then Dark Patched it instead of just attaching it to the Darkrai.
Yeah, that was really weird. Like, in his position, I would almost consider just attaching the Dark to the active Pokemon and just using Computer Search to find a supporter and not play it. And just say, all right, you have 1 top deck. If you do not top deck anything, the game is over on the spot. Done. So,
but now, was he able to... Oh, what a top deck.
That is... Oh,
whoa. Oh,
wow.
My God.
Oh, my God. So... What?
Yeah, that was an unfortunate.
I mean, okay, there's a Silent Lab in play, so the Ultra Ball doesn't really do anything.
Oh, yeah, that's very true.
But
yeah,
the fact that Chris did not dump his hand of all trainers means that the game is not over right now.
Yeah, I really hope that he recognizes that there is a Silent Lab there.
Oh, man. Oh, no. This is going to be the 3rd time.
Oh, he just benched.
Okay,
yeah.
Good. We know what our cards do.
Yeah, so I guess DCE is actually not an out to anything. Yeah, Chris is just in really good shape here. It always feels good when your opponent has no cards in hand and not a strong field.
Yeah, I mean, I think Brian just got the Shaman because it has a lot of HP compared to anything else in his deck.
Yeah.
And he's just trying to top deck his supporter.
No, that totally makes sense. So, I mean, or even if he would need a couple top decks.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
it's not looking
Silo
good.
Lab is so impactful.
And that's an Ultra Ball, and that's just
all right. So he's just
a concession from Brian. And Chris will take game 2 in a very, very convincing fashion.
So we see what happens when Gets Us is a thing. So, and it was very interesting.
Man.
It was very interesting that Chris gained the knowledge of his opponent having Gets Us so that he could play around it, which he kind of didn't. But
yeah, it's all good.
Yeah.
It ended up working out for him in the end. Never punished. Never punished. That's not how this game works. I feel like every time I play games like this and I just like make one tiny misplay, I end up just benefiting from it somehow. Like I just get better luck because I played worse. And that makes no sense at all.
No, that does not make any sense. And I think that is probably not the optimal way to go about things.
Definitely not.
So we'll just leave it at that.
There's just no justice in this world.
Oh, wow. Brian has got he's got a Pumpkaboo start with a turn 1 Gets Us.
Yeah, but he also has nothing else to go with it. So if he's going first and his opponent starts Yveltal and he Gets Us, there's just a chance he loses.
Yep.
So I don't think he'll go for that unless he draws something
He's
good.
got a Shaman in his hand.
Oh, okay, he has a Shaman.
So even if he draws nothing off of this, then he can...
Does that not... I guess it's not risky. It's like seems somewhat risky, but I guess it's not that risky. Because your turn 1
It's a very tempting play.
Yeah, your turn 1 doesn't matter that much.
There's that Yveltal, so...
Ooh, it looks like Chris's hand is actually not really full of trainers, so the Gets Us...
There it comes down.
Oh, yeah, it only gets 2 cards.
2, that's not that bad. Oh, and he gets another... Okay, those were great draws for Brian.
Arguably some of the best draws he could have had.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, Ultra Ball plus a Night Marcher to discard with the Ultra Ball, that's nutty.
And I saw Chris had a Colress in his hand, maybe? Did he have another supporter as well?
I think he had an N.
Okay.
Or a Sycamore. Pretty sure I saw another... Or a Juniper, sorry, my bad. Mm-hmm. This is expanded. We can play Juniper. I got Sycamore on my mind from so much Standard.
Oh, and now we have it Gets Us on Chris's side.
Yeah.
I don't think this is the place to play it, but it's so tempting. Yep, all right. I think that was definitely a smart play not to get taken over by that temptation.
And Chris looks like he actually found really good stuff.
He's got double Battle Compressor, another Ultra Ball. He's got
that
a
almost looks like
Patch.
triple Battle Compressor. I think that might have been triple Battle Compressor. So he just might be just thinning out his deck this turn, like, of all his dead draws. And it looks like he's going to play 1 Battle Compressor. And I think he also had a Shaman, but I'm not sure. Or an Ultra Ball to get a Shaman.
Yeah. So that's probably what he will go grab here.
And he discards double Battle Compressor.
Okay, so it was 3, wow.
Yeah, that's a clunky hand.
Yeah. It is a little unfortunate that he has to, that he doesn't have a target to Dark Patch before he plays that Shaman.
We see Brian kind of chuckle once he sees the double Battle Compressor. He's like, oh my god, he drew 3 Battle Compressors off that? And
he's probably thinking, I wish I had 3 Battle Compressors.
That's a good point. He's like, where are mine? Why can't I get them?
Yeah, Brian has an interesting hand.
Yeah, and Chris also kind of has an awkward hand where he has Dark Patches and Darks in the discard and no Dark Pokemon. And
a Shaman, but he can't really...
Yeah.
You just Sycamore that hand. Juniper, excuse me.
Yeah. Come on, man. We're not playing Standard anymore. We're in Expanded now.
So this is actually kind of interesting because...
Ooh, that kind of looked like... You could just see him shrug once he saw that hand. He was like... oh, gosh.
If Chris draws into a a Darkrai, let's say. Actually, that would be... Oh, interesting. Wow, so he takes a quick 2 prizes on the Shaman here.
And it looks like the judge is saying something to them. It may have had to do with the ordering of maybe the escape rope or something. I'm not 100% sure what happened here. It looks like he might have promoted the Mr. Mime, maybe. Is that what's going on?
No, the Mr. I think Jeff sort of missed something and is just making sure everything is clear. So.
Yeah, sometimes players take like shortcuts to save time, and the judge can get confused.
Trainer's Mail into Ultra Ball would be so strong here.
Oh, nope. I think I only see a Fighting Fury belt.
That's still not too bad. He has a Jirachi EX in his hand, so he can go grab probably an N here.
Yeah. The only issue with that is he just doesn't want to drop the Jirachi necessarily, just because.
I don't think you have a choice.
Yeah, no,
I think he just loses.
Don't. Wait. Oh, the Silent Lab's in play. What? He just dropped the Jirachi. He couldn't find a supporter.
Oh yeah.
His own Silent Lab.
I think he knew that though. Like he had to play the Jirachi no matter what.
No, you definitely do. I just didn't realize that at first. Is that like his own Silent Lab might end up costing him the game. Which is really ironic.
Yeah.
But it's probably just correct to play it just to have it on the field. Sometimes you just like miss little things, like they just like play a stadium quick and it's just there. But Chris definitely knew it was there because he didn't try to search his deck or anything.
He didn't have an option there. So he knew in my history of playing Night March, you just assume they have everything they need.
Oh, yeah.
So
I absolutely hate playing against the deck just because it's so efficient at doing what it does.
Absolutely. So.
And we're going to see another Battle Compressor come down for Brian. He's going to get some Night Marchers in the discard if he has any, maybe. Or just...
This is not looking good for Chris right now.
Or just get other cards that he just doesn't want.
I still think if Chris top decks, like let's say a Darkrai... Yeah, then he could get something going here.
I mean, you could do 90 and then 30 to the Joltik if you're able to get a Lysander or something to go around the Joltik. I'm not sure. But either way, we're going to see Brian play a Versus Seeker, get a Professor Juniper, and that's a whole new hand.
Has he played a... I feel like he played a...
Yeah, I think he's...
Yeah.
Oh, no, there's a supporter. That's a Hex Maniac.
Yep.
And what is going on here? I think maybe he's questioning whether a supporter was played this turn or not. That seems like what was going on there. He's looking through discard check and then...
What do we get here? Computer search. All right. That's a start.
Yep. That's really good for Chris.
Oh, that Silent Lab is becoming a little bit of a bane here, though.
Yeah, you can't computer search for like Shaman or try to go off. You just kind of have to get a supporter, like a Sycamore or something, or Juniper. Do you ever get... No, there's no way you can never get it here. That's horrible. You only would draw 4.
Yes, I think getting in here would be pretty bad.
All right.
Oh, well. So, Brian let him take back a...
Yeah.
Oh, so he is just going in with a Darkrai. Just doesn't care.
He didn't get a supporter. He just straight up...
Yeah, he's just like, let's do this.
All right. I like it. That is a very aggressive play by Chris.
Yep. He didn't even realize the Silent Lab. He gets the snipe damage.
Yeah. And
just gonna see a
Brian
Juniper here.
Does have stuff to work with, but let's see if he can find another Night Marcher.
Yep, he got that Buddy rescue. Will do the trick.
Yep, and he also has the Life Dew to go with it, and I believe there was a DCE in there. So
yeah, I think this is going to be wrapped up here pretty soon.
Good night, Darkrai.
So it looks like he's got 10 Night Marchers, so that is more than enough for the knockout.
Mm-hmm. I mean, after this point, it's really hard to recover as Chris, especially when you don't have the option of just emptying your hand for like a big Shaman. Assuming even you have to top deck a supporter first of all.
Yeah, I think this is almost benefiting Brian more of
Yeah.
letting that Silent Lab just sit there.
Oh, 100%.
So,
Chris literally had to drop a Jirachi for no effect. And the Silent Lab really didn't affect Brian that much at all. All right, we see a trainer's mail. He has...
grab that compressor.
Yeah, he doesn't even want the deval. He's like, nah, man.
He already has one in his hand.
Yeah, he has one in his hand, but he's not going to play it.
Yeah.
He's like, nah, man, I'm good. I like that. Oh, whoa. That is surprising to me.
Yeah,
because he's not using the effect.
I have no clue why he did that.
He gives Chris the option to Shaman.
Yeah.
I don't know how much it will be relevant, but...
So we have one top deck here, and it is...
I mean, Chris has a
Parallel
VS Seeker.
City. Well, Chris just drew a Parallel City, too, so...
So he would have countered the stadium anyways.
Correct.
He would have countered his own stadium.
Is he just going to end here? He is. Bring him down to 1, so he needs to...
I mean, he would need a Float Stone and a Dark Energy.
Off of 3 cards.
That is... I don't know. That seems way too risky to, like, end there over Juniper.
I mean, I think you're in one of those situations where...
yeah, you have to do it because your opponent probably just has the game anyways.
You're in really bad shape, and you just need to do it. What do we get here?
But he has the option to get Ultra Ball for a Shaman. Now that the Silent Lab is no longer in play.
He whiffed it, though. You can tell by his body.
Did he?
Oh, no,
Did he? No, I don't think he did. The one thing he could whiff is the Shaman actually just being in his deck or not, but...
I'm not sure how many of... I think he knows that there's no Shaman in there.
I'm not so sure. Maybe he just might be thinking it out. Oh.
So I guess he knew that there was no Shaman, so...
Yeah, and that
He
looks
just
like
knew
it's
that
going to be
was
the
game.
game. Brian H. takes it 2-1 over Chris Wilkinson. And Brian's going to be... What is his record now? 5?
So he was...
6-1?
He would have been... Yep, so he's 6-1 now, I think.
I think that locks him up for the day 2, but with an ID.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I think an ID. I think 6-1 will make him safe, but never sure. That could be the bubble. So
just speculative.
Yep. Awesome. Well, so they're wrapping up that match. We've got a little bit of time, so we might have a little bit of a longer break.